Torture, of course, an issue that may land on the docket of the new Supreme Court, a prospect as evidenced by not one but two new cases of potential CYAing to report tonight after former CIA officer John Kiriakou told ABC News and others that Abu Zubaydah cooperated with U.S. interrogators after just 30 or 35 seconds of waterboarding. The utility and life-saving value of waterboarding, torture, became gospel, at least on the right. Last night, ABC News reported that Kiriakou was stunned to find out recently, as we all did, that Zubaydah was in fact waterboarded 83 different times, on top of the rest of his torture. And now someone is blaming the CIA's waterboarding on two men from outside the CIA. This is from ABC's online report. To quote it, according to current and former government officials, unnamed, the CIA's secret waterboarding program was designed and assured to be safe by two well-paid psychologists, Bruce Jessen and Jim Mitchell. Jessen and Mitchell are both veterans of the same program that Rumsfeld's Pentagon turned to, the SEER training for Americans who might be captured. And as for whether Jessen and Mitchell are to blame for the CIA's waterboarding, the question remains who at CIA would have hired these two well-paid psychologists from outside CIA to design CIA interrogations. Journalist Jane Mayer, who joins us Monday, previously had reported the CIA decided to break detainees before hiring Jessen and Mitchell. The agency's own scientist refused, saying, quote, "Don't even think about this." Ms. Mayer could not determine who at CIA went ahead anyway, hiring SEER veterans to do what CIA scientists would not. But what about investigators with 11 report on detainees? Did they learn who made the call at CIA? Today, a Senate source told Countdown, quote, "The CIA refused to permit investigators to talk to agency personnel about activities they conducted for the agency." With us tonight, MSNBC political analyst Jonathan Alter, also, of course, senior editor at Newsweek. Good evening, John.
Hi, Keith.
Abu Ghraib was bad apples, as we knew from Mr. Rumsfeld at the time. Turned out to be totally false. But now the Pentagon used these SEER techniques. So did the CIA. And wouldn't you know, there are more apples, more bad apples, and they're outside apples. They're freelance apples. It seems like it's an awfully convenient and repetitive excuse.
Yeah, Jane Mayer wrote about these two characters in her book, The Dark Side, which for anybody who's interested in this, I'd really recommend. And Jessen and Mitchell were really bad actors. I mean, they knew nothing about Islam, spoke no Arabic, totally unqualified to do these interrogations, said that the prisoners should be treated like, quote, a dog in a cage. But should the whole thing be laid on them? Of course not. They were hired by somebody, and then the person who hired them was indeed assigned to hire them by somebody. So this, by definition, goes up the chain of command, and that's what an investigation should be for, to determine exactly how this came down.
Is there anything else we need to know about this that we have no clue on besides where that chain of command goes up?
Oh, there are many, many things that we don't know about this. And in a, you could argue in a democratic society, there's maybe nothing more important than trying to get to the truth of how we betrayed some of our values. Look, there were a lot of people right after 9/11. I was one of them who felt like we are going to have to maybe do some things that we hadn't done before, and some people lost their heads on this. But the extent to what this to which this went is almost mind-blowing when you start to read the details, and we just have to have an airing of this. It's uncomfortable for any society. It was uncomfortable for South Africa when it did it with apartheid, for East Germany when it did it for the Stasi, the secret police, and they aired all of this, and these were their countrymen and women who were implicated. But it helps to cleanse your system, even if, as in those two cases, it doesn't result in prosecutions. The prosecution question is a different question from the truth question. We're probably not going to get to prosecutions, but we can get to truth.
What happens if the same Bush officials who chose the SEER techniques for the military also pushed the CIA to use those techniques?
Well, I mean, that is something that we need to have fully aired. I mean, this is what congressional hearings are supposed to be for. This is a function of Congress. If they don't want to have a commission, then use the regular process on Capitol Hill to issue subpoenas and have people come in and testify. And they will be very dramatic hearings. And yes, the Obama administration will be upset that it's distracting attention from their agenda. But journalism can only go so far in getting at the truth of what happens, and this is just really needs to take place soon.
And Spanish judges can only go so far, too. The reaction from the right to these international investigations has been, don't tread on me, and flag waving, and let's go invade them. Could it be ironic, it could work out in some sort of ironic fashion that the Obama administration is, in fact, the part of this entire political complex in our nation that winds up feeling the most pressured by an external source and says, well, we've got to do this before the Spanish do?
I don't think that's going to happen as it relates to prosecutions. There are all sorts of problems that liberal lawyers have raised with the prosecutions. That you would need John Yoo and some of these others to have shown intentionality, and actually they sincerely believed as a legal theory that they could do some of this kind of thing. And would you end up trying to prosecute Dick Cheney? It's a can of worms they simply are not going to open. But Truth Commission, truth hearings, we need them badly.
Well, we know from the right how we could get that information. I mean, we know we have it's absolutely.
That's right.
We just first we just hire Mr. Jessen and Mr. Mitchell, and then we let it go from there.
Right. Chief counsel to the committee,
yes,
Jessen.
That's right. Wearing big masks and those medieval executioners. Jonathan Alter of Newsweek and MSNBC. Have a great weekend. Thanks for coming in.